So, as said, I am Terry. Now let me introduce you to who I have got on the stage with me. And I'm going to kind of do it out of order because this person here is Neil McPherson, who is the artistic director of Finborough. And I roped him into this at the very last minute when I realised he was in tonight because he's done such amazing work here at Finborough, and I thought we needed to hear about that as well. And then right next to me, I have got the writer, Saana Sze, and this is Saana's debut play. And it won a wonderful award that Neil will tell us about. Then I'm going to come to you guys last because we all see what you can do. On the end, we've got Dadio Len, who is the director. And then in the middle, we've got Shyla. Please also, by the way, if I mispronounce anyone's name, let me know. So we've got Shyla Cook, and I know I've got a double barrel here, Sam Bampo Perry. Yes. Okay, great. Now, applause. Okay, great. So Neil, as I roped you in specially, I do want to talk to you. You've got many first-time visitors here tonight. The Finborough Theatre, you guys have discovered something you're going to want to experience again and again. It is a legendary theatre in London, founded in 1980 to do what?
Well, originally it was kind of new writing, but kind of not. I've been here for 25 years, nearly 26, and basically I do absolutely brand new writing, or so old there's nobody alive in the world who's seen it except for Michael Billington.
Who's the retired critic of The Guardian.
So we have a rule that we don't do anything that's been on anywhere in London in the last 25 years. So if you come here, if it's new, it's new. And if it's old, you know, we're not going to be doing The Seagull or A Doll's House, wonderful as they are, because you can see that at the Old Vic with a budget of 3 million. Here you'll see something from 1927 that nobody's ever seen since.
And you do quite a lot to nurture up-and-coming writers, many famous writers who started here.
So if you want the roll call, James Graham started here 20 years ago this year. Laura Wade, Mike Bartlett, Jack Thorne. If you go back a bit before I started, Martin McDonough, David Eldridge, Naomi Wallace, etc., etc.
Whatever happened to any of them?
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And in addition, you have an award that Saana won. Tell us about that.
So Saana is actually the last winner of it. The EPEP Award was founded by an ex-stage manager who he didn't have children, so he found himself with an awful lot of money. And he was like, I really want to encourage people who are in the theatre but not writers to start writing for the theatre. So, you know, if you look at William Shakespeare, John Osborne, Harold Pinter, were all actors before they became writers. He really wanted to encourage others in the theatre to do that. So Saana worked front of house, which is how she qualified, and how they qualified. No, that's another theatre. And I can probably reveal now that they won unanimously. It was a really nice, easy judging session. It was just like,
Wonderful. Now you're up. Okay, Saana. So where were you working, you're allowed to say? And were you always writing at the same time as working in the theatre? How did this come about? Were you inspired by the play award, or did you have this in your back pocket and you just said, I'm going to go for it when you heard about the competition?
I was working at a big theatre, I won't say the name. I don't think I was writing at that time. I started writing when I watched Leave Taken by a playwright who I really love, and I thought I could write something like this. It really inspired me to start writing. And then I saw the award actually, and I was like, why don't I just submit to this, thinking that we won't win at all? And so you can imagine my surprise when Neil calls me at like 12 to tell me that I'm shortlisted and just on that one.
And was part of the prize that it would be staged, that it would be produced?
No. So the prize was kind of a lot of dramaturgy and then a stage reading, which we did last year. And, you know, since COVID, the Finborough, we've been a bit taken for granted, and, you know, it's been very, very difficult. So I really wanted to get this on stage. So it was more because I really wanted to see it on stage, so I found Clarice to co-produce it with us. Clarice, our producer. And here we are.
And this is the first in-house or in-house co-production. Let me get the prefix is correct. In quite some time.
Yes. So so if you look at James Graham, who's just been announced as #1 in the Stage 100, he started here in 2005. So 20 years from starting at the Finborough to being #1 in the Stage 100. The problem since COVID is the finances mean that I've got lots of writers who could and should be the next James Graham or Laura Wade, and I financially cannot get their work on, or theatre companies cannot get their work on, and instead all you're getting is one-person play after one-person play. So what we did for this one is the Finborough has paid all the rent, we covered all of that, and Clarice and the Arts Council have covered everything else. So it's kind of, it's a weird new business model we're trying so that we can get the play on stage where it belongs, and hopefully attract lots of people who've never been here before.
By the way,
so that's worked.
Am I right in thinking you're still completely unsubsidized?
We are completely, totally unsubsidized by everyone.
Damn them. Idiots. Okay, now, creative process. I want to bring you in now, Daddy. So at what point did you get involved? What attracted you to Saana Sze?
So, I mean, me and Chloe, we knew each other before, and then I think it was somewhere in October, she rang me and said, I've got a play, I'm looking for a director, would you like to read it and see if you're interested? And I was available, I was. So I read the play, and I loved these two voices. They are so vibrant and so energetic, and the stories they're telling, and the characters, the way they see these characters that were jumping and so colourful on the page, I was very much drawn into it, and I felt, yes, this is something. It's very challenging. When I read it, I knew, but I like a challenge, so I thought, yes, I really like the voices, and it's a good challenge. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wonderful to see it on stage. I read the script, and the way that even just its formatted, you must get it published. But the way it's formatted is really unusual for a script, because the two Marthas and their experiences are written right alongside each other, and so I can, and the way that you have staged that, it is so clear that they are mirror images of the experiences at different points in one person's life. It's really beautifully conceived, directed, and obviously rendered. Beautiful. So, as I've just described it, for you two as performers, what was that like? Did you? I mean, because in some senses, you could kind of think, oh, this is kind of a monologue. I've got my own words here. There are just bits where you interact with one another, very cleverly. But it does almost at the same time feel like one performance. Like kind of, is that something you thought about when you were working together, and how did you work on that in the rehearsal room?
Yeah. Well, at first it can read as like two one-person shows that are just happening at the same time. But I think what was really interesting is just how these two voices come together, and how it is one voice as well. Because again, like in certain scenes, they do come together, and you're like, oh, like okay, we're in a world. For example, the scene where they're in the classroom talking about Beth, it's like, oh, they're together now. But
Are
then,
we allowed to say that word?
oh,
I know what it is. We are. Yeah. We're in the performance space.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're safe. I completely forgot that. My bad. But yeah, and then other times it's like really interesting to see the time jumps as well. And like, I think what was really interesting to me was the fact that like we'll begin a scene, but it's not linear. So like to perform it, it's like sometimes you're starting at the end of a scene at the beginning, which is really, really fun to play around with. So yeah, it was something I just thought was really, really cool. Initially when I first read it, I just read NowMartha's part, as I was like, this will be me, so I'm mind my business and read NowMartha's part. And then I went back to it and read the two together, and then got a feel of how they paired up. But to be fair, in the rehearsal process, there's 82 pages of text to learn. So we have to mind our own business and handle that. And then it was nice then coming back together and then naturally, because you know when your line ends and then being like, oh wait, there's an interjection, someone else is talking. So it was then, it felt like we rehearsed it a bit separately and then put the two back together. And then we had to get that feel again of what it was like to share that space. And how active can we be while the other person is speaking, and when to move and how to navigate that and without be it pulling too much attention and writing on so many words on board and trying to do it quietly. But yeah, it was a really special process and I really enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Okay, there's so many other questions I want to ask, but I'm being greedy. So, first row, yes, please. What's your question?
So basically, I thought you were going to ask a question and I was sad, and you basically did, but I suppose it's an extension of it. Throughout, and especially at the beginning, actually, I was really conscious of like the tension of emotions. So it's not just like the practicality of the two of you, but like there's so much like frustration and despair and powerlessness, but then there's also so much like joy and exploration and like levity in it as well. And it just really struck me. And then like navigating all of that as well as like playing the other characters. At first I was like, oh my god, this is going to be like almost too much, but then it just felt very natural as well. So like, was that something that just came naturally to you in the creation of the play, or was that something you were conscious of, like how to balance the emotions that you were trying to convey?
Both?
Yeah.
Writing and directing.
I think you can't stay anywhere too long because there's so many thoughts, because there's so many lines, and you and practicing thinking on the line.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're in the future, which, as an audience, is not really fulfilling. I mean, the words already existed and came in, and we off initial reactions, and we fell in love with the script from before having the job. I think that was the thing that drew me especially to it. I remember getting to the point of it says interviews are bare long, man, and I was like, yeah, I'm with you. I like this show already. I don't know how it ends. I think there's something about when you're reading text that it feels like you're at home within it, and you know that seeing yourself within the character, also identifying the differences. So you couldn't stay in the same place for too long. There's something else or another character who's going to interject, and there's no time to, overcomplicate it. Just keep it pushing.
Sam, when you're performing, is there any point where you do feel quite emotional? Because YoungMartha in particular was an incredibly traumatic experience.
I think not necessarily me as Sam, but I really connect to the point of like leaving Gia behind, and that experience, and like seeing that awful image of like someone who you once loved now getting beaten up, and then making that conscious decision to leave her behind. And I think when you're at that age, like when you're so young, first discovering what love is and what a crush is, and all these new experiences that you're finding, to then decide and make the conscious decision to leave her behind, like I was like, whoa. I vividly remember being like, oh my god, because I really thought it would be a Gia and Martha love story and then the end, and then we'll just hear like, oh, this is like queer love and great. But here we are, and that's the bit. Like I don't get emotional as me playing it, but like I can really connect to the situation, and I'm like, wow, like this is something really, really sad.
And again, it's in the writing, isn't it? Because you repeat the line, and I left you behind, and I left you behind. And you get emotional seeing it performed.
The first time I think I did, yes, and I ran up to them and was like, what are you doing to me? I'm crying, and I know what's happening. But to your question, I think that was done on purpose. So I taught as well, and Ed and Tisha will tell you that this is how a classroom is. A student will come and they'll tell you their backstory, and it's really sad and it's really heartbreaking. but at the same time you see the student doing something really stupid in class and they're laughing and they're having a good time. They're living their childhood, but they're living through these things as well. And I was very careful to put points of humour through it, so it's not just this is what's wrong with school, because there's a lot that's wrong with school. I wanted the audience to laugh as well as cry. So yeah, that was purposeful.
The way that it's done, the split experience as well, it's also very fantastically type of way of humanizing the teachers. Because if you just do it from the student's perspective, you think it's very easy to see the teachers in YoungMartha's experience as villains in some cases. But again, with the mirroring, and the scene where you and your friends are taunting the teacher at the same time as NowMartha is experiencing something, it's really effective. Really effective. Well done, thank you. Well done. Anyway, okay, more hands. Come on. Here we go.
The goose joke.
Goose joke.
Was that a classroom joke that you translated straight onto the stage, or did you actually make it up?
No, it actually happened.
Yeah. And some of the other dialogue in the classroom, was that something you just lifted effectively straight out?
For the most part, no. I took how students speak from the classroom, but what they're dealing with was fictionalized, so I didn't take that from my own experience.
Did you draw the pictures on your blackboard at the time? Or was that something you thought you should have done later on?
That was all you, actually.
Really, you didn't do that? I thought it was clearance. Okay. I mean,
It's a record.
it's actually
That's
my
all
time.
goose.
I had to look it up because, but we got there.
Very good. Any other hands? Go to the shot. Yep.
It wasn't actually about the writing process.
The writing process.
Writing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like curious about whether you started in what like PhD you started first. Was it like in YoungMartha or NowMartha? Was it kind of like a process of starting with one of the perspectives and kind of like naturally merging into the next? Or did you kind of like one part first and then go into the
Did you always conceive it that way as well from the start? And then how did you proceed?
No, I didn't. The play was sort of partially inspired by the protest that happened in 2019, and I remember watching them and feeling like, oh, I must write something about them. And initially, it was from the point of view of the students going through that time, but I thought that yes, it needed that balance, and I was interested in the teachers who are at these schools, some who were defending the teaching of LGBT lessons, and some who probably didn't defend it. And so I thought to balance it out, I should write from both perspectives. But initially it was just one point of view of the student.
And then from the question, then as you then proceeded to write, did you switch between them, or?
I did, yes. And through the process of working with Neil, actually, we got to sort of whittle it down. I think it was something like, how long was it? It was really long. It was long because I sort of threw everything in it, but it went student, teacher, student, teacher, student, teacher, and then we figured out the structure of what you see in these two concurrent storylines. Also read Dale Orlando Smith's Yellow Man, sort of written similar to that, and so I took inspiration from that.
Great, wonderful. Okay, more hands, more hands? Yeah.
I really like the set.
Yeah.
I think you almost created a school, in this very small area. But to have the school kids like that and the teacher there, teachers would, the kids on the carpet. I thought that was very good.
Yeah.
But I just liked it. I liked the photos and things like that. It was very much the school created very easily.
I'm such a nerd. I have a whiteboard at home, so anytime I see a whiteboard, I get excited. So there should be a special award for best use of whiteboards on stage. But Daddy, talk about. So let's give a shout out then to Dallas Evans, who is the set and costume designer. Daniel, talk about that, how you as a director work with a set designer.
Wow, a long time ago. How do we? Well, the question was what we started with. These are two parallel worlds, and how do we really interweave it or the two worlds in front of an audience, but at the same time keep them separate? And then we were thinking about islands. So I don't know if you've noticed that they could walk around as much as they can, but they cannot step onto each other's islands. And it's kind of like we want to keep it. And a lot of the time when they are talking to an audience, it's kind of that they're speaking in their head or thinking out loud, they would majority of the time would be in their islands. That's kind of their mind, but they also share the space in between because they are the same person. You know, the past and the future will cross, so that is how we started. How do we create a world where we can see two isolated places? When we need to use them, we can use them, but at the same time, there is fluidity between these two places, so that we can convince people that this is like a big brain, and it's just basically Martha's life in this room. Yeah.
Beautifully explained. Thank you. In the script, I was really fascinated with your naming conventions. Obviously, the characters NowMartha and NowMartha, but also in YoungMartha's world, it seemed to me, have I got this right, that the authority figures are all identified by their job position. And in NowMartha's world, the students are all letters. Can you just explain your thinking and how you came up with that nomenclature?
It started with YoungMartha's world, and I was just remembering how you sort of never knew your teachers' names, and they didn't exist outside the classroom. You know what I mean? Miss Smith or whatever. And so that's where the initial idea came from. And then eventually I figured out I wanted these characters to be a representation of school systems. And I wanted the story just to focus on NowMartha and NowMartha. And so there's a depersonalization that happens, and just talking about them in the school system rather than them as people. And I think the same stands for NowMartha's world as well.
I wanted to mention also, if you haven't got a copy of the program, do. In addition to the credits for everybody, there is a wonderful program note that speaks to a lot of the issues in play, including, I was reading with my friends beforehand and was just really shocked by one of the statistics shared in terms of the mental health implications of the constrictions that are so beautifully conveyed in the play. The school report from 2017 indicates that 84% of trans students, including non-binary individuals, self-harmed, and 45% of them had attempted suicide. And that's heartbreaking, really. So the play and NowMartha's character is trying to answer that question: what are schools for? Do you have an answer what they should be for rather than what they are currently for? Are you still teaching, by the way?
Yes, I am. Do I have an answer? No, because I don't answer it in the play either. No, I don't have an answer, but I thought the question should be asked. I think when I was writing it, I was preoccupied with trusts that were springing up, and I was trying to ask if they actually serve the students they're supposed to serve, and does having one trust that has 100 schools in it all across from London to Birmingham serve the students it's supposed to have? Are they the same type of students, or should we have something different? And I think it's an important question to ask, because I think when we look at schools, we are usually looking at the outcomes. So if a school has good outcomes, then we don't really question what's happening in the school. I know that a lot of schools copy policy from a singular school in East London that's run by, I won't say her name, but a woman who has interesting beliefs about trans people, really anti-trans speech that she said in public. However, her schools do really well and no one challenges her, but when they do, they say, but look how good her school is doing. And I ask, but who does that serve? Me as a queer person, as someone who's autistic as well, who's been through the school system and seen how these type of students could be left on the outside. If you ask me, would I prefer a school that has great outcomes but doesn't cater to my needs, or a school that looks at catering for everybody who's part of that school? Which one would I prefer? And it's definitely the second one. I don't know if that answers your question.
It's a wonderful answer. So we are running out of time. I think if anyone in the audience has one final burning question, I'll let you get it in. Any hands? Any hands? Yes.
Just the inspiration for the title.
Yes, Belly is the Beast. Tell us about the title. Good one, yeah, obvious. Thank you.
Because they're both in the midst of this huge system. They're in the midst of the beast. Yes.
I have to always get the final question in, so I'm gonna, which is, I'm gonna say the question first, and then I'm gonna give a preamble so you can think about it. So, we talked about teachers a lot. I want to know if any of you had a favorite teacher at school and who it was. But while you're thinking about that, I also just want to say again, the way that the play ends is both hopeful and devastating. Because we're so hopeful for young Martha, and at the same time we see how now Martha has gotten so much further ahead and been blocked. But but I want to say I have hope that now Martha finds her way through initially, and that Martha's overall trajectory is great. And on the brilliance front, who's going to tell me about their favorite teacher?
I had two.
Okay.
My favourite teachers were, one was my year 7 form tutor called Miss Alonaday, and she was awesome. Really looked out for me as a kid. And my second was my drama school teacher. No. My second was the head of drama at the time. She was awesome. Her name has disappeared, but she was so energetic and looked like me and told me that I could be an actor, and somehow I'm here. So
thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, she doesn't need a name because she is just Miss Drama School teacher.
Awesome.
Daddy, your favorite teacher?
I didn't grow up here. I do still have a favorite. I had a favorite teacher. He was a physics teacher. I really liked physics when I was a kid. And the reason I liked him is because you have loads of formula you have to memorize when you're doing physics, I think. But the way he taught the formula was very much break it down as in a storytelling way that you understand how everything works as a beautiful narrative. And that helped me learn everything. And I thought that was just beautiful.
Again, it's like a slide in the play. It's about storytelling, isn't it? Leo, did you have a favorite teacher?
I'm old.
You can't even remember that one. Okay, you're left. You don't need to answer. Sam, favorite teacher?
I did, yeah. So my favorite teacher wasn't actually a subject teacher. She was part of the SSC. I can't remember what that stands for, but it was a part of the school that offered like mental health support to students. And I would go and talk to her and stuff, and like she's still a part of my life now. Like she comes to watch everything I do and watch all my drama school shows.
And she's here tonight.
But I invite her to come and see this show, and like genuinely from all of my learning experiences in school, like she's had the greatest impact on me. So it is her.
And so I feel if I was a student today, you would be my favorite teacher. But did you have a favorite teacher?
Yes, I had two actually. In secondary school, I had a maths teacher. He was this Scottish man who was always shouting, but I loved him because I always feared him, and he really made me love maths. And then in college, my English teacher, Tim Randall, he was wonderful, made me fall in love with Shakespeare.
And this reflected in the play. Well, I think this has been a wonderfully educational experience. I think you need to get all local teachers to come and see it, as well as their students. Clarice, I'm going to have to tell me when is the run complete? When is it finished here at the
Saturday the 1st of February.
Saturday the 1st of February. So, audience, you now have a very important task. Okay, and that is you are champions of this show and now Finborough Theatre for the first time. So you need to go forth and spread the word, spread the lesson, get people to come again, pick up flyers, share on social media. Oh, I didn't do my, oh my gosh, I'm losing it. It's because I can't bear Twitter anymore. But I normally tell people please do post on social media about the show. We have the Twitter handle for the show and the theatre on there. Also on Instagram and all other good platforms. I hate Twitter now. I can't call it X, but yeah. But anyway, I'm still on it. And Instagram and Blue Sky. Finborough's on Blue Sky. And for those of you, who is on social media? Anyone on social media? Okay, so when we clap everyone, we're gonna have a group shot, and please get your phones out and take photos and share those. It really does help spread the word.
And also, the earlier in the run you come, the cheaper it is.
Oh,
so get your friends in soon. And we've also just announced our new season, including world premiere from Simon Stevens with a dog in the cast.
Oh my God!
Live on stage.
Can I get a Q&A, please? Can I bring my dog?
I'll talk to the producer. The dog is amazing.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so audience, please join me in thanking Dario and Neil and Shiloh and Sam and Saana, and you guys have been fantastic. All right, get your phones out, so people.